couple weeks away from spring football starting. Obviously, the quarterback position is one between Graham Mertz and Jack Miller that we are looking forward to seeing what the outcome is there. But what position battles, maybe, on the opposite end of that you're excited about, are you guys most looking forward to?
Man,
Go ahead.
Nick. No, I had a mouthful. Pause. Woo.
Yo.
What?
Yeah. Hey, Cam, edit that out. Can't let that get to the streets.
No, Cam, leave that in.
Yeah.
Leave that in.
Okay. Yeah, come on, Nick. All right.
Okay. All right, that's all for the show this week. We'll try again tomorrow, I guess.
Same quarter, same time.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I think there's a bunch of positions. Outside receiver, I need someone to step up. I think Xavier Henderson probably has one of those spots locked down. No question about Ricky Pearsall locking down the slot. Like who steps in? You got some guys that have been there a long, long time, but haven't really done much. Can one of these new guys, Andy Jean, Aiden Mizell, step in and get reps or even a starting job outside? Middle linebacker. I know people like to talk down on Amari Burney and Ventrell Miller. I thought they both had really good years last year. You're losing 150 games of experience at linebacker.
I'll tell you what, they showed progress, man, by the end of the year. I know Bateman got to fix some recruitment stuff, but I will say that the linebackers, Burney definitely showed progress by the end of the season for sure.
Listen, you can say what you want about Jay Bateman, but Amari Burney was here 5 years. He played his best football by far last year.
Absolutely. Nick, another name, Caleb Douglas is maybe another guy that's going to be fighting for one of those starting outside wide receiver spots as well.
I'm glad I let Nick go first because I was going to say receiver because I believe we got some young killers that are going to come in and take some spots. And I'm glad they get some spring reps to kind of learn the offense and then go from there. But receiver is a spot where you just letting the guy know his route. As long as they got chemistry with the quarterback, but it's easier to come in. The farther you are away from the football, the easier it is to come play as a true freshman. You can play right away. So I do like the receivers being very competitive in this spring, and we probably see some guys jump the depth chart in the spring in that room because those guys are just. I think Andy Jean is probably the best route runner in last year's class. I haven't seen absolutely every wide receiver, but from the most I've seen from the top-notch guys, he's an elite route runner. And then we have top speed with I forget Eugene Wilson.
Yep.
If he's healthy and everything's right with him. Physically, he's going to come in and challenge some guys from just the ability to be able to stretch the field. Ricky Pearsall is going to have that slot kind of locked down, but everything else, I do like Caleb Douglas a lot, to be real with you. I think he's going to solidify him a spot, at least be in the rotation. But these young boys are definitely going to jump in, man.
And Caleb is a quarterback until his senior year of high school. So still green, still new, learning that position and the intricacies of it. Like, listen, you can be athletic. And they're going to say, like, hey, we're moving you to receiver because you're athletic. But, you'll see the difference in, a Caleb Douglas his first year and Andy Jean when you're talking about someone who's been a receiver his whole life and just the way of getting off the line, getting separation, running routes, breaking stuff off. I think you're still seeing the evolution of Caleb Douglas as a receiver. But yeah, I think we're going into year 3 of him now being a receiver. So you need to start seeing some of that progress and some of that. Less thinking and more just, acting.
And then you have, let's see, some other names. You have Ty Bowman. Do we have a spelling on the hyphenated first part? So
I asked him, we got him, and I asked him how to pronounce it, and he pronounced it for me. But there's not really an English way of saying it.
Okay, so I'll call him TCB. So you have Ricky Pearsall, and then you probably have like a Eugene Wilson TCB back up to him. You have Xavier Henderson, probably Marcus Burke behind him, and then you probably have Caleb Douglas and probably Jaquavian Frazier. Does that sound about right?
I don't know why I thought Burke left. I don't know what role.
Yeah, he got kicked off the team, and then a couple guys went to Billy and said give him another chance. So he got another chance. I think he sat in the doghouse for about 9 weeks and then got some playing time, but he'll be around for spring ball.
Yeah, no, I would imagine you're going to see a lot of, Mizell, Jean, and Wilson this year. Obviously, 3 of the highly rated guys that Florida has brought in over the last few years at the wide receiver spot, a little bit more natural at that position too, a little bit shiftier, a little bit speedier than maybe what, Billy Gonzalez was going for out of his wide receivers as well, but definitely a talented group coming in. A couple other things you guys mentioned, linebacker. That's certainly going to be something to look out for. Can Derek Wingo make that next step up? Yeah, I am curious to see tight end. You have Arliss Boardingham, who didn't play this season very much. I think he played maybe in the final game of the season against Oregon State. But, is he going to have an opportunity? You still have Keon Zipper, you still have Dante Zanders, but Florida just didn't really do anything with tight end last year. Wasn't able to really bring in a ton of talent to accentuate that position this season. So you have Arliss Boardingham, Keon Zipper, and Dante Zanders being those guys. So,
and Hayden, what's his name? Hayden something. Can that tight end position be more than just an extension of the offensive line?
Right. I mean, they're not even an extension of that right now. I don't think those guys are big time blockers or anything like that in this offense.
Hayden Hansen.
Shout out to Hayden Hansen. Quarterback battle. I mean, people are just giving the job to Murder Mertz. Shout out to Mertz, Graham Mertz. The transfer came in from Wisconsin, but Jack Miller is right there, man. I think he's not going to fold. It's going to be interesting, and I don't want people to overjudge him for that bowl game. But I'm just ready to see what that competition looks like, whatever it may be. I want to see how it shakes out the reps at the end of the spring. Does Mertz separate himself from Jack Miller? Is there a gap, or is it even and they taking this battle into fall, and are we looking for a Porter quarterback possibly sometimes before fall? I don't know, but I think that's an interesting battle that I'm gonna watch throughout spring, because hopefully that's sorted out at the end of spring.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes into fall camp. I think the baby's been thrown out with the bathwater. People saw Mert or Miller have whatever glorified practice in the orange and blue game last year. And then listen, keep it a buck. If that game wasn't one in Las Vegas and then two early enough, you might have had enough players to say like, hey coach, I'm not playing in the bowl game. That Florida actually might not have been able to play it, but you get an opportunity to go out to Vegas. It's on December 17th, which means you can go home, be with mom and dad for Christmas. That's appealing to 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old guys. So I don't think that there was a great team effort in the Las Vegas Bowl. And that's not all on Jack Miller.
No, that's exactly right. Obviously, they were missing a few starters on the offensive line too. Didn't give him much help. Gators just had a bad game. It's going to happen. It's tough to get up for that Las Vegas Bowl. Obviously, Oregon State got up for it, but at the end of the day, we look into a new season there. Offensive line, certainly, you're replacing a couple of starters, and
center's the spot.
Yeah, it's Kingsley Egukhan still, going to be the center, this year. I know that there's a lot of excitement about Mazkua and George, the transfers, as well as Kenyatta from Kentucky. Austin Barber played Keontae. Sorry, Keontae. You corrected me a few weeks ago. My apologies. Austin Barber, a guy that was an SEC all freshman. Team member, is going to probably have a starting spot, Richie Leonard, but you're replacing Richard Garage, you're replacing Tarquin, you're replacing Ethan White, and you're replacing Rashad Torrance too. So, not all were starters, but certainly significant playing time, as well thrown in there. So, certainly that's going to be something to look out for too. But, with Stapleton and Rod Sale, I am encouraged by, what they were able to do in year one. I think that you bring in some good talent, and I think the offensive line should be certainly a position of strength again.
How you think the center? You got Uganku? How you say his last name again?
Egukhan, yeah.
Egukhan. You got him penciled in as the center starter. And what do you have?
Yeah. I think you. How do you not pencil him in? He's been the starter there 2 years in a row. But I think you look at Jake Slaughter's the guy that's played there. And then the one that I think will really push him, and he's going to be a starter in my mind at either right guard or center, and that's Richie Leonard.
Right.
There's just no I don't think any job on the offensive line outside. I'd probably use a pen to put Austin Barber in at left tackle. It's baseball season. I almost said left field. To put him in at left tackle. But other than that, I think Micah Mazuka is your left guard. A battle there at center, and then can Keontae take the right tackle spot, or is that going to be George from Alabama? And if Keontae takes the right tackle spot, can George slide into guard? I think he's more of a guard than a tackle, and based on what I watched in that Iron Bowl from 2 years ago, I think you want to slide him in and have a guy on either side of him. Pause, and then you might have a battle there at center. But 2 years of experience means something. So I think I think Kingsley is definitely the guy that starts off at center when camp begins.
Did you see the video of Keontae Goodwin running a wide receiver route? Not sure exactly why he was doing it, but for a guy that's pushing 400 pounds,
he's just trying to let Billy know, like, hey, when we get down there inside the red zone, if you need an offensive lineman that's eligible, I'm here.
Yeah.
Nick, who's the other name that you're thinking at center?
Jake Slaughter would be the third.
Jake Slaughter. Okay.
Jake Slaughter, Richie Leonard. Those are Slaughter, Leonard, and Eguakon are the three guys that really practiced there last year. Okay. And maybe there's somebody else that we'll see on March 4th or March 5th that's taking some snaps. But I think those three are the guys that I'm looking at that spot.
Awesome.
On defense, he's probably looking at the star position. I think the outside cornerbacks are kind of figured it out. I think in my mind, we're pretty solidified there with Marshall and Jalen Kimber, or no, even Devin Moore. Like out of those three guys, you get your starting two.
You have fourth too with Jaden Hill.
Yeah, Dan's guy.
The season goes as he goes.
Yep.
Not this year. We're not gonna start that this year.
Dan's already said it.
No, we can't. We're just gonna act like it didn't happen.
Dan hit me with that meme, the two astronauts meme, where the one's like holding the gun to the other astronaut's head.
Always was. Man, I can't use that after I said about Cormani McLean about being a Florida commit, because I was talking a little breezy. I don't normally talk about recruiting, but I put that meme out there, and John Ruiz got a hold of it, and the rest of the internet did too.
Nice.
Always was a buff, Dan. Always was a buff.
Big day for him on Wednesday. He has to report his quarterly earnings. So maybe we can post it's a scam. It was always a scam. Who knows? Anyway, what else you got on the defensive side of the ball? So,
yeah, I think just the outside corner is kind of solidified. So figuring out, I think star is going to be open competition. It should be. I don't know who wins that battle. We bringing in some young guys that could play. I wouldn't mind seeing Sharif Denson and some of the young boys getting some shots. I think highly of Jakeem. And what he brings to the table, but I think he's more of an outside guy. I think opportunity-wise, Jakeem, he'll get in the rotation, but I think Sharif Denson has the opportunity to jump in early. They see him more at the star position and playing some outside, but early he'll play some star. And I think safety is also outside of five, Kamari Wilson. Like what's the other side? Like who's really battling that? I think it's open. I don't think there's nobody solidified and that's earned anything at the other safety spot. So safety and star are gonna be ones that I'm gonna watch this spring to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see five make a big leap this year. I think that there was some learning moments for five last year. I think he came in and played well. Sometimes, but there was definitely some plays that you allowed to happen because he was a freshman. So hopefully we can see that next big jump from him, because he's obviously exceptionally talented, but definitely some missed tackles, definitely some Will Hill reads, out of that safety position at times, but I can definitely see a big improvement for him. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is Miguel Mitchell that guy? Is it Castell? Is it Thornton? And where's Aaron Gates slide in? Is he guy that's going to play in the back end? Is he going to play star? Is he an outside guy? I think there's so much versatility from the defensive back class that Florida already has on campus. That's something I'll be watching. Just where are they sliding these guys in?
Yeah, and that's certainly going to be, Florida infused a lot of talent. They obviously have a lot of names. They have a lot of stars in that backfield. Now it's a matter of putting it all together. I'm excited to see Jakeem Jackson. I actually got to play golf yesterday with my buddy Sage. Appreciate him listening to this show, even though he's an FSU alum. But he coaches 7-on-7 and he coaches quarterbacks in the Sarasota Bradenton area. And he said, and I've quoted on this show, that he thinks Jakeem Jackson was the best cornerback in the state of Florida last year. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I think that Florida's got some great talent. Jason Marshall, I think that this is his money year, right? He's been at Florida as a 5-star recruit, has been a starter for 2 years now, an opportunity for him to make that next leap and hopefully move on to the NFL for his sake. But, definitely want to see a little bit more out of him, and, excited about what Kimber can look like coming back from injury. I think he was injured a couple of times last season, playing with a club for part of the season, had that touchdown on the interception return. So you saw glimpses of his athleticism. You saw, Dante Moore, or not Dante Moore, who am I thinking of? Name you just mentioned. The kid that they committed. Devin Moore. Devin Moore, you saw a lot of, things about him to get excited about. So there's so much stuff, in the backfield that Florida has in terms of talent, in terms of stars, in terms of what you're looking for. Now a matter of putting it all together. And, I think Corey Raymond is obviously the best coach, cornerbacks coach in college football right now. And then you've got Patrick Toney on safeties. But, now is the time for them to leap. There's no longer, the names that you're traditionally used to yelling and screaming and numbers on the timeline. So there's going to be new names, and this is their opportunity to step up, because Florida's going to need, in my opinion, the defense to really step up next year, because he just had an off year, but another year to learn the system.
Can't blame it on zero anymore.
Can't blame it on zero.
I hope they find an edge rusher and another star or safety in the portal before fall. We still got some time here, just for depth and a little bit more secure. I sleep a little better at night if we were to address edge rusher and safety or star in the portal. I think we need one more edge rusher.
Man, I'm excited about Princely. The opportunity for him this year. I thought he played really well last year. Another season as a starter.
Big time.
Curious to see what they're able to do at defensive tackle too, right? You bring in a transfer from Louisville. Not a lot of production there at Louisville. Didn't play a ton. Desmond Watson, but you're replacing German Dexter. So, with that, you plug in somebody that played, I think he played the most snaps of anybody on defense last year, definitely the most snaps of anyone on the defensive line last year. So no matter what you thought of his production, in his 3 years at Florida, he was still a guy that was playing, 60, 68 snaps a game. So definitely a lot of interesting position battles. This is probably going to be the year where we've seen the most change and turnover in terms of, kind of those long, consistent names that have been starters for a long time at Florida. Moving on.
It sounds like a salesman job for my internet essays. But I think there's more intrigue in this spring ball just because you have so much turnover. And like I said, you think there's 27 new guys on campus that you lost 30, I think, or 35 between NFL and the portal.
Remember when I said the Gators were going to lose like 25 and people are like, there's no way.
Yeah. Well,
beat it by 40%.
Dan knows. Dan knows Gators. That's the new segment.
Dan knows Gators.
What's y'all feelings on Graham Mertz? I see the PR is getting a little better. Fans are getting a little bit more rational and trying to be some fans are. Some fans are still just.
Who was Andy Jean's quarterback in high school? So, I feel like Andy Jean is brand new. He's had a high school quarterback. So he gets in to a college setting where, one, he's not going to talk bad about his quarterback. But he's also, he's got a 22-year-old man who's started 32 games in college. He probably thinks this is the greatest quarterback he's ever seen. I think people are talking real greasy off of one, Andy Jean just supporting his teammate. And I think Graham Mertz is a less athletic Anthony Richardson. And we all need to come back down to earth a little bit.
And 2019 All-American Bowl MVP. Can't forget that.
Long time ago.
The Gators have 2 of them right now.
Look at that.
None of the freshmen that came in hyped Del Rio Appleby. So that's where I lie with it.
You hyped Appleby.
I'm a fan. I didn't hype Appleby. Let's be clear here. I got
hyped Del Rio?
More standards. Didn't hype Del Rio. Now, by that time in that regime, I was ready to fire everybody.
Okay.
So I didn't hype anybody. I was just fed up as a fan. But I do think there's a little bit of substance. Him calling him Joe Burrow and saying that type of thing could happen. I mean, it's a possibility. We just seen this happen so many times with guys changing teams, coaches, and getting a new shake at it. I think this is probably going to be one of the most explosive. If these guys turn out that they can play early, I think Graham Mertz is going to see some guys that he never seen as far as speed wise, separation wise, that he can throw to. I like that offseason buzz of, yeah, he's looking good. It's better than bad news, right? You know, they could be just like, yo, what the hell did I just sign up for?
That would have been a wild comment. It's like, yo, I thought I was coming to college. It looks like I just transferred high schools. Who is this guy?
I thought I was coming in with Rashada. He's not here. That could be a whole thing of, yo, I'm bold. I only have a quarterback that came in this class with me, let alone the 22-year-old transfer. All right, screw him. But I'm just glad to see these guys are getting some type of chemistry going. And the fans are getting a little bit more rational. Let it all play out. We can lie when it's time to lie. Don't lie pre-spring. I didn't hype up on this show. We didn't hype up or trash the Graham Mertz acquisition, and we're not going to do it now. You know, we're going to let it all play out, and then we'll go from there and be rational about who he is as a quarterback and where we are as a program.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, you know, Graham Mertz, you know, played last year at a coach that got fired right in the middle of the year. So there's – you know, there's a lot of turnover. There was a lot of change there. And, you know, we can argue till we're blue in the face whether Graham Mertz is going to be successful at Florida this year or not. But, you know, time will tell, right? You know, the game's going to kick off in Salt Lake City either on a Thursday or a Saturday. Hopefully they decide that soon. But it's going to kick off and we'll see, right? You know, how does Graham Mertz fit into the Billy Napier offense? You know, he's got two, you know, great running backs in ETN and Johnson. You bring in Treyon Webb, you know, you bring in the Tulane transfer as well. You know, Florida's got some talent at the running back position. They've got a good offensive line. They've got some weapons at the wide receiver room that they hopefully can pan out. And then maybe somebody will step up in the tight end room, whether it's, you know, Hayden Hansen, Arliss Boardingham, or Keon Zipper, you know, whatever they're able to do. You never know how those 11 players are going to mesh compared to the 11 players that he had meshing at Wisconsin. So, you know, he's got some good film. He's got some bad film. He's got some, you know, film that you can shake your head at, and there's film that you're going to look at and say, hey, maybe if he can do that a little bit more consistently, you know, Florida can, you know, be in a position to be successful next year. You just don't know. But, you know, I think